Da, 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 da. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. Full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling, girl. I gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert.
All right, I think we've had about enough of this.
I love the barbershop quartet, but even more than that, I love being on BowtieUP Live.
Switch us over.
This man over here is.
I think I have to do this. Cool. Don't stop here. I know. We totally botched that. Hello, what's up, everybody? I am not a barbershop quartet, although I play one on the internet sometimes. I am Lee Rowley of Lee Rowley Copy Branding. What?
Did you just play one on the internet?
No, I did not. Now I am a barbershop quartet. And a pretty bad one at that.
I thought you were tremendous.
That's pretty good.
But enough about me. It's over to my co-host, Alex McDowell.
Hello, friends. I'm Alex. You know me, founder of A3 Innovation, partner at Real Impact Solution, overall fan of technology, and huge fan of everybody watching this show. But I do have to admit that I am a much bigger fan of the man of the hour. Joining us down here today is the one and only Chris Borja. Chris, welcome to BowtieUP, and take it away.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Am I supposed to take it away, or is Lee supposed to take it away, or what are we doing?
You just introduce yourself, brother. Who are you for those who do not know you? Because I know you and Lee knows you, but they might not.
They may not. We don't even know who they are yet.
We do. We do know that we have Nishant and Carla joining us on LinkedIn. Hello, my friends.
Hey,
and also Jeff joining us on Facebook. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? So to Carla, Nishant, and Jeff, Chris, who are you? What do you do? And how do you help?
Awesome. My name is Chris Borja, and former shy introvert who now runs the Connected Networking Group. And also my company's called Become a Better Networker. So I was so terrible at it. I got better. And now that's what I do is I help people become better at networking and create better connections, build their businesses, and grow their community all at the same time.
Wow. Former shy introvert. Did you just say?
Yep, that's right.
You do not look like a shy introvert to me, Chris. We might have to dive into that journey. So how did you come to where you sit today? Because, I know that I've actually had the pleasure of, I remember in, 2012, coming to one of your very early networking events in Dublin. And it was just Lee, me, there was a chiropractor, I want to say, and then a law practitioner. And now I see your events and they have hundreds of people, man. So take us through the transformation. Who is Chris Borja? Where have you been? What have you done?
Yeah, so the transformation is just like, for many people, it's an uncomfortable journey into the unknown. When you first go to an event, you might see something and feel called to it, just feel like you should be there, but it's uncomfortable. So we tend to avoid things that are uncomfortable for us, whether it's public speaking, social settings, both of which I was uncomfortable at. And went to the first event, and what I saw was a different way of doing business. I'd done business in the past where I was constantly cold calling and just nonstop grind, just calling 50 people a day. And I just felt exhausted at the end of the day. And the thing is, like, I felt like I wasn't really building relationships through it. And what I'm talking about is if I was to see people that I was calling, emailing, all those kind of things, if they haven't been responding to my messages, then do you think they'd be more likely to run and give me a hug, or probably pretend they didn't see me? So
probably pretend they didn't see you.
Yeah,
they'll see you coming in the grocery store and boom, make a beeline to the bread aisle.
I didn't see them. Hey, because you didn't return my 3 messages, but here it's now. So I found networking, and I saw people that were just getting referrals left and right. And I said, how do I become like that? I want to be that person, because I think I would get a lot more sales if people were coming to me and if they were asking me questions and people were sending me referrals. And so that's what started my journey. I just saw something different. I saw a better way. In my opinion, I saw a much better way of doing it. But since I was uncomfortable with it, I went through school of hard knocks and was really challenged with it in the beginning because I really didn't know what to do. So I would look around for social cues of what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing. And I learned a little bit over time. And eventually when I got better, I started helping people originally that were just around the perimeter and looked as lost as I was, because usually what people do, you can tell because they're just looking at their phone.
Yeah.
Hopefully that notification comes through.
Taking a brief moment to pause and say hello to some of our tremendous audience members joining us before we go back to Chris Borja and his story of being a shy introvert and now leading one of the largest networking groups in Ohio. So great story, great person. And without further ado, hello over on Facebook to Chris, who is double streaming. Thank you very much for that. And over on LinkedIn to Sophia, saying, hey, everyone. Hey, Sophia. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. And welcome to the show. So, Chris, from what I'm hearing, man, you're just kind of done with the grind of sales and the 50 cold calls a day. You thought there has to be a way to do this better. And you mentioned that you went through the school of hard knocks for a while. But where in this journey was the transformation to what is now connected, or what, I don't know if dang is what it used to be or what, but just walk us through, what made you start that networking, how you started it, what those knocks were, what the problems you saw in the industry, how you fixed them, and then maybe how that even plays into today. Because I know that you've most likely had to pivot a lot recently from large in-person gatherings.
Yeah, so the starting point of the first group was really to be able to create an environment that was welcoming and open to people that were introverted, shy, lost, like I was, just where it's more comfortable. And because that was my experience of it, I wanted to make sure other people had a great experience rather than a fearful, anxiety-causing experience. So what that looked like is as people arrived at the door, I would greet them. I would let them know what we were doing. We would have different things to engage people and create opportunities for people to meet in a more, just more natural way instead of just leaving them in an open room and they don't know what to do or what they're supposed to say or how long they're supposed to talk. So things that we take for granted as we become better at networking, we don't know these things, and no one ever taught us how to do it. And that's one thing so that's how I started the group. And after a few years of running the group, I realized that we were starting to run across the same problems. Our group was slowly starting to grow, but I recognized the big problem was that people just didn't know how to network. And the reason why is because most of us are never taught how to network. It's kind of like, hey, you got to get out there and meet people, go out in the marketplace. Here's a list of events. Get out there, take people's hands. It's like, okay, what next? I'm just in a crowd now. And so that's where we started doing the training. And from doing the training plus these awesome events that were walking to people, they created a winning combination where people felt comfortable, and we started building that culture of people that just care about one another. So instead of being a transactional group, it was a more relational community type group.
And that's such a key, because I think recently we've all kind of realized that the transactional way of doing things doesn't quite always work. And when you are focused on relationships, and Lee, you say it best when you say this is the connection economy. And I absolutely love that, because, it really speaks to the way that we're trying to do things differently. And we're trying now to no longer focus so much on the old way of doing things and calling 100 people a day and kind of just putting in work to the pavement until something sticks and figuring out along the way. But rather, we're focused on adding real value and bringing real solutions and making an actual difference. So I absolutely love that. And how long has it been? How long has it taken you to get to where you're at now with the connected group?
Yeah, so the first event when I started networking was 2012, which is, I think, right around when I met both of you.
Yeah.
2012. And it was a slow growth at first, and it took us a while to get to our first 1,000 members. And then most of the growth has really happened within the last 2 years when it's really taken off. Our Facebook group has tons of engagement. I think one of the highest we have right around a 75% engagement rate, which compared to
All
most
right.
groups is around 15 to 20%. So
Yeah, we gotta talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, because we have all these people out there who are influencers who have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of connections. Oh my.
Oh, wow.
And yet they're getting 2 or 3 likes, you know, a pity comment, a yay, good job. You know, love you, mom, you know.
You got
that
a
sort of
million
thing.
followers, but you can't even fill up a Zoom room.
Right, right. So this is the opposite of that, it seems to me, like where you're not going for numbers so much as the whole quality of the experience. Because, you know, you and I know, and Alex, you know, we've talked over the years about how the lifetime value of a connection
Oh, wow.
can grow exponentially. You know, as you continue to develop contacts and people to introduce them to. So then it's not just about you, it's about what you've helped create by connecting them.
And that's the insane thing, is when you start to realize that it doesn't matter what you do. It matters who you can help.
Right.
Yeah, one of the cool things about networking is it's actually, for most people that network, it's because they're in some kind of sales capacity, business development,
Yeah.
business ownership, entrepreneurship, something like that, or nonprofit. And most people understand the concept of a funnel where it starts broad up here, and you put everyone at the funnel, and it kind of funnels and trickles down. Networking, in a way, you could look at it as a reverse funnel, because as you build that relationship, it actually opens up to all the channels and all the other people they know as you build that relationship. And that's one of the most overlooked parts of networking, is the amount of growth that can happen as the relationship is built.
The
Oh,
reverse
yeah.
funnel. I dig it.
Because you have to think, I mean, when you first meet somebody, are you opening up your entire client book to them? No. I mean, I'm not going to throw you my biggest client to help me out on a project if I just got introduced to you at a bar on a Tuesday. You know, maybe after we've known each other for several months, we've worked on some projects, built some trust. So, like, when you talk about that reverse funnel, man, it's so evident. And it's evident, too, in the scope of things that you do with people. And it starts very, very small, and then it continues to expand. And that funnel doesn't even have an end. It can go as big as you let it.
So then there's a tipping point, then, isn't there? You've said that most of the growth in your group has happened within the last 2 years. So there's been quite a bit of work leading up to that. So was it like that for you, where there was just this tipping point where everything just started exploding?
Yeah, so what that was as we started a new program which introduced new ambassadors to our group, and we're out championing the group and the organization to be able to reach more people. Then the word started getting out a lot more, and that's one of the things that it's also networking in and of itself, is that it's not. So I'll give you an example. The first event that I ran, I literally rented a room. I paid $75. I had a 3 event contract on it, so I spent $225 that I invested for an event that I was going to host for free. And I just had to get people there. So I'm actually calling all of my people, like literally picking up the phone and calling them and letting them know, hey, I'm starting a brand new event. Wanted to see if you'd want to come out, and I'm going to have some great people there for you to meet. You can network and you know, continue to grow your business, all that kind of stuff. So I started that, and then I had the first 2 or 3 people says, yeah, okay, yeah, I can make it. And then I'm like, oh crap, there's no one to meet at this event, so I need to really work. And that was the first event. I was like hustling, just trying to get people to this event so everyone can have this great experience. And that's what it was like in the beginning. So I was a lot of labor. I wasn't even, like, almost put my business aside just to get this group promoted. And now, just to kind of show how it's transitioned and talk about tipping point, now on average, we are growing by about 100 new members per month. And it's consistent. So we're not seeing a whole lot of spikes, which I'm okay with, because I'd rather have it consistent and make sure that we have the right people joining the group. And by right people, I mean people that are engaged with the group, people that contribute.
When you say right people, Chris, that strikes me, because one of the biggest gripes that I have about networking groups as the owner of a tech company is that most people in networking groups are not really value add. I've experienced a lot of just oversaturation with, you go to a networking event and there's 15 people there, 5 are insurance agent, 5 are realtors, 3 are in an MLM, 1 has an actual business, and the other is me. So how have you approached that, that challenge within networking that I've seen across the other groups in Ohio, to literally call them out because they all do it? But how have you fixed that problem and solved that? Because I don't get that feeling at all from you.
Yeah. So what we do is we just create the space and the culture for people to just serve and love one another and care for one another. I think is the most important thing within the culture. All the other stuff just happens by default. So, for example, in our group, we don't have any exclusivity because I don't believe that in our particular style group. I know there's groups that it makes sense for that to happen, and that's what makes the group appealing. But in our particular group, we're more focused on community networking. So even if I have somebody that is not necessarily selling anything, or they don't have anything for sale, or don't have, they're welcome to come and attend and to participate. And I believe that that's still going to be, just having the community together is going to be better for businesses by default. It's going to be better for them anyway. So as far as
I agree.
Yes, as far as multiple people being in the group, it's just people. So the thing is just people don't do business with just names or professions. So just you said real estate or insurance. Most people don't ask who do you know with XYZ company because I need to buy a house. Who do you know with
right
XYZ company because I'm looking for a new insurance for my car or my home. They say, who do you know that's in, and then fill in the blank for the industry. Who do you know that's in real estate or as an agent, or who do you know that's in insurance? And so it always comes back to the person. And if we focus on just people, you can coexist with a lot of people, not just coexist, but actually thrive with a lot of people, even in similar fields, because it's competitive, but the thing is it's all relationship driven. So
it's cooperative too. It's competitive to a certain degree, but it can be cooperative. There's enough business to go around for all of us.
Oh yeah.
And just to put a pin for a second, because I do want to give a shout out to a couple of our incredible guests joining us today, including a first-time guest, Alan Gonzalez, joining us. Thank you for joining us, Alan. Welcome to the show. Wonderful to see you here. And also Gabriel Leal joining us, BowtieUP Live veteran. Thanks for being on the show, Gabriel. Happy that you can tune in. And he asked, when can I get some BowtieUP Live swag?
Yeah,
we got it being made. Literally, man, we are working with the printer. We have the quote. I'm going to talk to Lee after the show. I've been meaning to, probably about a day late on that, and really get the details ironed out, because we do have that coming. They're really nice t-shirts too, and I might be getting a quote for the Ducks too, but we haven't talked about that yet. So
Ducks.
Yeah, dude, the Ducks are going to be cool, man. We're going to give you guys some Duck at Ducks. But
I love it.
It was under wraps. But not now. And Jeff also on Facebook asks a great question. Just put it up on the screen here. We'll answer this in just a moment, Jeff. Let's save that for the end, because right now what we're talking about with Chris is just the way that he's combated how would you describe it, Chris? The sales focus of networking groups, or the inauthentic experience of networking groups? How would you define the problem that exists within most of them, just centered around the fact that they don't care about the people, but the numbers?
Yeah, so most of the groups that I've been through, and this is from my experience here in Central Ohio, most of them are good groups. The problem is that the people that join for the first time generally are not knowledgeable on even what networking is about. And so they come in with the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with the group. I think there's a lot of amazing, awesome groups. But I think the problem is that people come in with the wrong mindset. They don't understand what networking is. And many people think of it as something that's already kind of salesy or sleazy, or maybe it's kind of real stuffy with people just trying to impress one another. And that's really not what it is. Really, it's...
And some of them are. You will find those. I've been to a couple of them, and they suck. So just know that the Chris's of the world are out there. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, so it's just but here's the thing: is when we train people through our programs and just help people through our group, that really what we want to do is to be able to create better networkers, first of all, because most people aren't naturally good networkers. Even people that are... So I talk about myself. I'm an introvert at heart. That's just like this is who I am, introvert. I've learned how to adapt. However, there are many people that are extroverts, meaning that they're comfortable, they love the engagement, but it doesn't necessarily make them a good networker just because they're not uncomfortable. And just because somebody is uncomfortable doesn't make them a poor or a bad networker. So it's just a matter of training and helping people understand about
Mhm.
building that relationship so you could share referrals and resources with one another. It may be a referral, it may be a customer, it may be a connection to somebody, it may be finances, it may be knowledge. So there's all kinds of things that you could consider resources. But now that's the exchange. It's not a matter of, do I buy your product, do you buy mine? It's a matter of like, how can we support and help one another?
Right.
And how do you approach that? So, and here's where and why I ask, because a lot of the approach to networking is very salesy. And at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, our job is to be salesy. You know, we've got to sell something, whether it just be a connection with us and being top of mind or whatever it is, we're still trying to convince you of something. So how do you break down the barrier between I'm focused on pushing my business forward and I'm focused on helping others? How do you remain altruistic and ambitious?
Yeah, the answer is that most of the time people that are being salesy don't realize that it's not really helping them. Just because you're trying to sell something doesn't mean you actually make more sales. And the difference is, again, it just falls on mindset. So for example, let's say that I don't care what you're selling, you can make it up. So let's just say, because you already mentioned like realtors, insurance, it could be anything. It could be flower shop, it could be a gym. So let's just say you're trying to sell a gym membership. Like you own a gym and you're trying to sell a membership. That's your product. So you could go through the audience and try to tell people how great your services are, how awesome your gym is, and how safe you keep it, and all that kind of stuff. And okay, cool. But the thing is, like, it's hard to sell somebody a gym membership. It's hard to sell somebody insurance. It's hard to sell somebody a house. It's hard to sell somebody a car. It's hard to sell somebody a t-shirt, a hat. It's hard to sell anything, promotional product. It doesn't matter. Everything is hard to sell when you're trying to sell it, because there's a very limited amount of people that need it right then at the spot, that are at the networking event, and they're in that position to where they're looking for
Mhm.
to purchase in that realm. So like, if people go to a networking event looking for a sale like that, the margin of, they're looking for like maybe like this much margin of like the amount of people that would actually fit that criteria. So more
Oh,
times they're going to go home disappointed because they didn't find somebody there that fits what they're looking for, that's going to purchase their product. So the difference with networking is that, like that reverse funnel that we talked about earlier, is that by building that rapport relationship, now it opens up like not just that one person that they're looking to buy right now, but there's somebody within that reverse funnel, within that whole network that they belong to. If anyone in there could use a new car, can use insurance, can use a new gym that's in their neighborhood, that would be awesome. Now they become a referral for me if I was the one selling the gym membership. So, but by the time that they come to me, the difference is that I don't have to do a lot of selling anymore, but because Alex recommended me, say, hey, you should talk to Chris. He's got a great gym right down the street. It's like literally 2 blocks from you. Super cool dude, great prices. Go see Chris. By the time that person comes to see me, they're probably 90+% of the way to a sale anyway.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you make the salesmaness disappears just by building those relationships.
And speaking of, just to put an illustration with that, because it applies to something very recently with me. I have like 2 accounts that have come down the pipe recently that are they're great accounts, very, very happy to get them, wonderful clients to work with. And they both come from referrals from people that I've just networked with. Not anything I've sold anything to, didn't need to. It was just referrals. You do a good job.
Yeah.
You have a good service. You have a good product. You help people, and they will want to tell other people about it. Because when you can solve those problems, that's when you become sought after and you become valuable.
Yeah. That's why it makes it's so important to start networking before you need it. And I think that's kind of where people get confused coming in, is because they develop a keen interest in networking because they need a sale.
Right.
Oh crap! Because for some reason or another, their back's against the wall. So either they're looking for a business or they're looking for a prospect. Not everybody, of course, but a lot of these newer people coming in, I see that as being why they're doing it. It's just like, okay, here's why we're here. I need a quick sale. And life just doesn't work that way, because nobody goes to a networking event going, I want to buy some stuff.
Right.
Have you ever been like, I just want to go see what's for sale?
I'm just going to window
what I can
shop.
sign up for.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Can everybody
does
put
that.
me on your email list, please?
It's just Lord have mercy. But unfortunately, that's people wait too long to do that. And so, when they're getting into it, they're just going at you right off, like, here's my business card and here's what I do and I'm so great and look at this and look at my company. We've been around for 27 years and you're like,
your toilet water coming out of your mouth. Honestly.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's what you
That's
sound
all I
like.
hear too.
You shouldn't have to tell people.
Use that sound effect.
What?
I said,
how long have you been waiting?
Use that sound effect.
How long have we been waiting? I thought about it earlier this afternoon. I just happened to.
You're like, I'm putting this in.
Yeah, you work it in wherever.
Just to stop the show and say hello to a couple of our favorite audience members joining us today. We have Edward Buggs joining us on LinkedIn, saying hi, Lee. Lee said hey back, but I'll say hey over there to you as well. Edward, welcome to BowtieUP Live.
He's a fellow Toasty. I met him in Toastmasters.
Ooh,
right back when.
Were you did you ever get designations in Toastmasters, Lee? Were you like a competent communicator, competent leader?
Barely competent.
Yeah.
I think I got the competent communicator award.
I did too.
I was like, oh, good.
Did you write any of the speeches? I didn't write a single one. It was actually really bad. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Anyways, saying hello over on LinkedIn to Matthew.
All right, I will let it go.
Saying huzzah, gentlemen. Kevin McDowell saying my entire book of business is from referrals. Congratulations, brother. That's how you know you're good at what you do. Very little outbound on my part. Yeah. Word to the streets. And Sophia said, wow, Rick Astley makeup or Rick Astley remake. Where did you find that? I just think Lee is never going to give up Rick Astley.
I am never giving that one up.
I'm never going to let him down. Tear him down, forget him. Now, Jeff, I did make a promise to you earlier that we would come back to your question, and I'm making good on that now. So, Chris, I know that I can barely see your hat peeking over, and I'll switch that in a minute, but Jeff asks, questions for Chris re your group. Do you find the need? Okay, we'll all split it. Okay, if we all look up, we can just look over. So, Chris, do you find a need to call the group occasionally to get rid of those who do not ever participate? Great question. And is there an optimal number of members in the group that you'd like to work with?
Yeah, as far as like getting rid of people, I haven't had to do a lot of it. I do sort through people before accepting them into the group, and that's a key. And usually if they don't engage, I don't necessarily need to cut them because they're just not even in the picture. They're not around.
They cut themselves.
Yeah, so they're already like automatically cut. And I don't think there's necessarily an optimal number. There's just different types of networking. So for a referral group, you're going to want a smaller, tighter inner circle. So for those to be successful for you, you want kind of like a tight-knit group. So you don't want that too large. My group is a little bit different. It's more of a connecting group. It's a lot of referral type groups come to our events, and I welcome them to go ahead and invite back to their group because it's a different structure than mine. So we use ours more of a community gathering place for people. So our optimal size is larger. So anywhere from 20 or 50 or 80 people per event is good. We also host other larger events that go up to 200 per event. But the thing is, like, it's more of the quality. It's more of the quality than the quantity of people in the room. The reason I say that is because whether there's 20 people in the room or 200 people in the room, 200 creates a lot of energy and excitement, but so can 20 if you have the right 20 people in the room. And the reality is that you can only meet about a half dozen, maybe a dozen that you can actually connect with, have a conversation with. So anything more than that is kind of cool, but you really don't get a chance to meet all of them anyway. So as far as like the size of the group, I don't think there's like a really an exact number, but I think the key is to just focus on building the relationships there. So there's been events where, like when we were starting, there was events where there's only like 4 or 6 of us at the event, and instead of having a big room, we would just sit at look like a little conference table.
And we can still name them.
Yeah. But that's how it worked. I mean, we were just a small group. But here's the thing, though. So as the organizer, just being transparent with you, as an organizer, my ego's kind of hurt. I'm like, man, I really thought I'd have a lot more than like 6 people here, and that would be me. But I remembered something that I think Les Brown talked about, where he talks about just serving the people that are there that show up, and not worrying about the bigger people that didn't show, larger crowds that didn't show up. And so I remember that lesson, and I said, let's just serve the 5 other people besides myself every year. So there's 6 of us total. And the way we converted that into an awesome event where everyone left feeling like it was great and they had a great time is we gave everyone a little bit more time, and we just created a little bit more structure to where we gave them prompts to answer, to we could learn more about them and learn more about, what their goals are and what their family, share about their family or vacation or trips or things that are interesting about them. So it was more focused on the person rather than just 15 minutes talking to the person about their business, because no one really wants to hear that. No one cares. No one's remembering it anyway.
Right.
You remember the person. And so that's what we focused on. So as far as like the size of the events, it's not really a matter of like how many people are, it's more of like how many people will you make a great connection with. It's probably a lot more important than the actual size of the group itself. So hopefully I answered your question and just danced completely around it and talked about
I think that nailed the question, Chris. Great job. That actually deserves a Yosemite Sam.
Yeah, it does.
Ow! My biscuits are burning! Fire in the hatch!
Congratulations, sir.
Good job. And so following up that question, one thing that I want to touch on real quick is that if you're going to, because I know some of your events get, especially the LinkedIn Lives, get really large when we're able to do that in person. So should somebody going to something like that have an objective of like, okay, I want to meet X number of people, or I want to meet specific types of people? What should they do so they're not getting lost in the chaos?
I'd just stand facing the wall and wait for somebody to poke me.
But
I'm gonna force you and wondrous things upside your head if you try to get me on the airplane.
I beat it.
That's how some people feel going. That's how I feel going into those events. I'm like, okay, there's lots of people here. I know I need to be here, but oh my god,
Just ball up in the corner.
Yeah.
Can we make an introvert corner in one side? Introverts over here.
Somebody will come with it. Yeah. I think I remember seeing a bumper sticker or some kind of slogan said, "Introverts unite separately in your own homes." So,
That's right.
Without video. Probably without audio either. Just type real slow.
But no, seriously, should you have, some sort of loose agenda when you go to a larger event like that, where you can't possibly meet even a fraction of the people there?
Yeah, what I would recommend in those situations is to just focus on the person in front of you, because what happens is there's a tendency to, I think subconsciously we have this worry about opportunity costs. Like if I'm talking to you, then all these other people like looking over your shoulder and like all these other people I'm not meeting, and I'm not building any engagement and rapport with you, and I'm not meeting everyone else either. That happens at bigger events or anytime where there's, even events like 20 people, it could be overwhelming for some. So my recommendation is just to break it down into individual conversations. So I don't care if there's 200 people or 20 people in the room, whoever you're speaking to, that's the only person that matters at that particular time. And once you're done and do your introductions, you get to know each other. One of the strategies and techniques that I teach is for you just continue to make introductions. So for example, like the 3 of us are in a little small circle, I'll leave a little bit of room for somebody to fit, and so they know that they're welcome into our
Introverts
room.
appreciate that.
Yes.
We look for that. Is there room for me?
Yeah, you always got to leave room for people, and you could wave them in or just welcome them to the room. And so what happens, like Alex, Lee, let's say we've already, all the 3 of us met, and I see John over here comes in. Hey, how are you? I see the name tag, John. I introduced myself to John. Hey, I'm Chris. Do you know Lee and do you know Alex? Okay, great. John, Lee, Alex. And I might have just met you like literally 2-3 minutes ago, but John's going to appreciate that introduction because I just made John more comfortable. I made you guys more comfortable. All of you met each other, and it kind of is just awesome. So I just do that. And then once that happens, then I'll just bring somebody else into the circle. So I'm able to actually network without moving more than like 10 in a radius of like 10 feet oftentimes, because I'm just doing introductions like this. But
you're just pulling people in. I just see you like an octopus, like pulling people into conversation.
They come. They're just gonna come. So what happens?
And he does it too.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. Okay, and also hang around the front of the room or by the food. That's usually two of the best places to hang around. So by the front where people pass by as they enter. I just use like the trade show test. So that means like if you were have a trade show table, where would you want your table to be? That's where you position yourself at the event. So if you wouldn't want to be a trade show booth in the back corner why would you network in the back corner where nobody can see you and you're not seeing people? So position yourself where you would put your trade show, not like in your trade show table, not necessarily blocking the aisle or anything, but in that vicinity. So that helps. But yeah, so what also happens is that you end up with this kind of like buzz because a lot of people are uncomfortable. So they'll go to who feels comfortable, who looks comfortable. And when you're making these introductions, you're winning a lot of favor without really trying to do that. You know, people just kind of subconsciously appreciate the fact that you made them feel comfortable. So you become that connector already, even though you just met everyone like 5 minutes ago.
They don't know that.
Little tip, yeah.
I love that. And it's funny to think about that too and how that plays out. And you can think about past networking events and stuff and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
So how does all this translate into an online environment? I know that we're starting to see some relaxation in the restrictions. People are going out. I know in Wisconsin, they all flocked to the bars last night. So we'll find out in about
7 days, 7 to 14.
Whether that was a good idea or not. But so as long as this is an online environment, how does that all translate? I know we're using tools like Remo. Matthew Perkins, if you're still listening, I know you and Chris are both big fans of Remo. But how does all this networking savvy translate to an online environment so that you can get the most out of the time you're spending on social media?
The online actually makes it. There's first of all, I don't believe that there's a replacement for the face-to-face. There's just being in that exchange and just being in the same space and being able to look at each other in the eye, shake hands, all that kind of stuff. There's just no replacing that. However, there are some things online that actually make it more efficient. Things like being able to connect with each other on LinkedIn on the spot. Things like being able to book an appointment on the spot. Things like being able to learn about each other. So like if you're online at a virtual event, and let's say this is a small version of our virtual networking event, we can share. So one of the things I'll have people do is like, hey, go ahead and share. So like as we do our introduction, so Alex did his introduction earlier. So we'll have Alex go ahead and share your website in the chat. And that way we can all kind of take a look at his website as he's sharing his introduction, and we can have a visual for what he's talking about and maybe even see additional services. We can look at his LinkedIn profile and see all the different things that Alex has done. We can find common connection points. We can find common interests. We can find connections that we can make for him or he can make for us. So all these things are available in the virtual world that aren't available in real life. And you can actually—
You don't get a dossier handed to you.
You can connect on the spot, like right there on the spot, you can connect. So I think the concept is the same. It's still about building rapport relationships. So there's also a lot of efficiencies that are added when you don't have to travel to see somebody. And as soon as one ends, you can start the next one, which is a whole different story. That can lead to like a lot of fatigue because you're back to back to back to back. But if you could control that and leave some space, leave some margin for yourself between Zoom calls or whatever medium that you're using.
Google Meet, shout out to Google.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Google, whatever you use, it's like very, very efficient way to do it. So, but I think it's here to stay. I think, say 21 days to create a new habit. And if it was 2 weeks under quarantine, I think people just kind of go back to normal. But we're exceeding 2 months at this point, and it looks like even longer by the time we actually get fully out there back in the marketplace. So I think it's something that's here to stay. I think it's becoming a habit to where it's so efficient that even the coffee meetings, a lot of people are starting to just do this virtual one-to-one.
Oh yeah. Because we have access to resources too. You know, how many times have you gone to a meeting at a Starbucks and forgot something at home? And it's like, you can just eliminate all of these things on the fly. I mean, I don't have to like awkwardly get up from a table and be like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll just be like, hey, be right back, throw my little screen on, like you're good. And it's just so much more convenient and more accessible for people too. And it reduces costs for your business. And when you're just starting out, I mean, I started my company with $40 and a laptop. So not a whole lot in the gas budget there. And, you really got to be creative with what you do. And so, yeah, I think that, and especially as we move forward, it's important for us to embrace the way that we've been meeting online, the way that we've been meeting live, the lessons that we've learned, and all the skills that we've taken away. Because I feel like if we really focus on that, we can all create a better tomorrow that doesn't even feel like normal. It feels better. It says, remember when society was so far behind that not all of our kids had Chromebooks? That was hilarious. Remember when we still had to go and drive 35 minutes to a Dunkin' Donuts to meet with a client who you know is in an MLM and is not worth your time?
Yeah,
That
for
was
sure.
hilarious. Like, we're really going
Uh,
to take these things and we'll move society
Yeah.
to more productive and allow us to do things like spend time with our family instead of, driving another 30 minutes to another meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my thought.
I can't tell you how many times that I've gone to face-to-face meetings where the people are like, "Oh, hey, I just want to get to know you. I want to get to know your business. This is just a formal chatter." And you get there, and they've got flip charts and the brochures and the sign-up forms already there. They bought you a cup of coffee, so now you're indebted. And you're just like, "Oh my god, I can't get out of this." This way, there's an end button. End call makes it all go away.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about
End call,
technology.
block everywhere.
Yep, beat it.
Have
Go
a
pound
nice
sand.
life, maybe. We don't know because you're blocked.
And whether it's in person or online, you could still get that pitch if people aren't trained. But another good practice is just to set what would you like to discuss at our meeting? What would you like to go over? Would you like to learn more about my services? And that's okay. If it's not, hey, I just want to get to know you better, then it sets the expectations up front. So there's no surprise, book of swatches or whatever pops out.
Right. So how, Chris, then I'll ask you a question that applies to me just because this is something that I've wondered for a while. Because you're saying there and you're like, man, these guys come in with charts and flip charts. And I'm like, oh, man, I love doing that. But it's not because like anything other than I love data and I really want to help whoever the heck I'm sitting with. Like I've worked for free more than I work for, paid work. And that was more in the past than now. But it's still like, how do you separate the two? Because there are different types of businesses, as we all know. Like certain businesses can be critical to infrastructure. Such as like technology, for example. I firmly believe that there is no company that I cannot make money for because that's what tech does. Like its sole purpose is to just help you grow and expand online. I mean, whether it's a site that's e-com or not e-com, or we're doing posts on Facebook or what we're doing, I mean, it all contributes to this goal. And my thought is that you give people the data, you give people the understanding and knowledge, and then you just let them make their own decision. I'm not going to force anything down your throat for buying from me. In fact, I'll show you ways that you can do it for free if you want. But I do want to always have that in mind, that it's like, hey, look, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, and I love my clients. So if you fit into that, I'd love to help you out. So how does that, is that approach, I guess, wrong? Should I augment that? Or is that something that, depending on your intent, that you can really mold into something valuable?
Yeah, it just depends on the sales model that people follow. And some of them are just grind and churn and burn and just go through the numbers. And in that case, I think it's just not a good fit for them because it's not going to be a good branding tool. They're probably going to turn over their rep, and then it'll be a new rep that got to cover the same territory, and it's just not going to work out well for them. And unfortunately, that does happen because of their sales approach, and they just look at other people in attendance as prospects. They're not prospects. They're maybe partners down the road if you treat them right, and which is a lot better than a prospect. But it's a matter of turning it into more of a consultative type of approach, right, that you're talking about, and
collaborative even.
They're coming to you because you're able to solve a problem for them. And like I said in the beginning earlier in our show, everything is hard to sell. It's hard to sell. But if you're an insurance person on a car dealership lot and somebody buys a car and they need insurance to go off, it's not that hard to sell anymore because they have a need and they're like right there and they're like, yeah, I need insurance. If you're offering a best rate, I'll take it. Let's go for it. And so, but going around to random people on the street and asking them to buy insurance from you, that's going to be difficult. So becoming a consultant is going to be a lot easier to generate sales. It builds trust, and you get a lot more reach through that reverse funnel that we talked about before, to where that network just keeps growing, and you have a bunch of referral partners out in the marketplace. So it's not just you. Now you have everyone that you've come in contact and that they've come in contact, so they just know who you are and send everyone your way that they know.
So what about businesses that are a bit, and unfortunately this is how mine's had to become recently. Like I no longer can take everybody. So I've had to transition to being a little bit more selective with like the clientele that I'm able to bring on, just until I'm able to bump up my staff a little bit more. So it's like when you're doing something like that, how do you still, remain present and remain networking, but not not like rub people the wrong way or offend them. And because like I don't want to come off as elitist or anything, you know what I mean? But it's just like I literally don't have the time. Like, how do you combat that?
Yeah, it's just setting expectations, and people I think respect it if you can be upfront. And I think as somebody who's successful in business, they're going to understand that you're probably going to be pressed for time like most people are. And if you can set the expectations and just set a few minutes, and if you want to continue it, you can have other times that are designated and set aside for that. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was just trying to meet with anyone and everyone because I had no one in my network. I was starting from scratch. Anyone that would say yes, I'll meet with you, I'm meeting with them because they said yes. And then after a while, I couldn't do it, and the group was still growing, but then I didn't have time to meet with everyone because the group was growing. But I felt more disconnected with my group a few years ago because I stopped doing my coffee meetings. I was just running the group, and the people at my events were actually building better rapport and relationship than I was as the host. And I said, "There's something wrong here. That's not what I signed up for. I didn't want to be an event organizer. I want to get to meet more people." So what I did is I created a certain days. I created a Friday. So all my Fridays, or at least 2-3 times a month, Fridays would be designated for Coffee Friday. So what I would do is have people come meet me from 9:30 to 1, and every 30 minutes a new person would come in, and I would introduce the person I just met with, the person that's coming in to meet me. They would get to meet a chance.
That's cool.
So I would meet up to 7 people if it was, literally 30 minutes each one. I'd meet 7 people face to face, which is more than most people meet in a month because they just aren't efficient in going about it. So I set that expectation up front. So if I'm meeting you for the first time at the event, and it's busy, there's a lot of people that want to talk to me, but you're important, so I want to spend some time to talk to you. So I'll do that. I'll say, "Hey, Alex, you know what? I'd love to talk further with you, but I've got like other people that I want to also get to and meet, and I want you to do the same thing. Do you want to set up a time where we can connect and have more one-to-one time?" You say, "Yeah, I'll send you my calendar link. Pick a time that you want, and you can either do a phone call or a Zoom or one of the Fridays." And that's a great way for people to not just meet, but to build that relationship, get to share and learn about each other. And then, so even in those calls, it's expectations. So like, when I say people set the calls, I'll ask them what they want to talk about. Are they interested in coaching? Are they interested in growing in a certain area about their networking or their business? Or do they just want to get to know each other? And any of those are fine, but I just want to know. So when we sit down, if it's just a get to know you, it's just to get to know you. Everybody's relaxed. If they want to learn about my coaching services, then I'm prepared to coach them and to kind of guide them through things and help them and coach them on the spot, because that's great. You do for people what you're able to provide for a service. So you just start doing up front. So it's a great way for people to be able to grow through networking. And that's how sometimes people ask, like, how do I convert it into sales? Then if you're just meeting people, building relationships, that's how
it just happens.
Yeah, well, it happens, but the reason it happens is because you have their attention. And that's what most people don't have, is they don't have the other person's attention, and they're trying to do a presentation. But once you build a relationship, then you'll have their undivided attention. When you have their attention, then they're more likely to pay attention. They're actually going to pay attention to what you share with them, and they're able to retain it, and they're able to share it. And if those things don't happen, then it's just like doomed to one-to-one sales for like the rest of your life and just grinding 2 calls a day.
And what happens is, you end up just doing the same pitch to the same type of people, getting the same responses, not making any progress, and you're going to wonder why. And then there are some people out there that you're like, oh, wait, why are you all magnetic and everybody wants what you do, but I do the same thing? And, you throw yourself a pity party. I love seeing stuff like that. And it's just like, guys, it's very simple. You inherently, no matter who you are not special. What you do is not unique. There is someone that will do it also that you do, and there is someone that will do it better. Most of them are worse, though. So if you can just be better than the ones that are worse, you're okay. And if you stay committed to your craft and you don't worry about the other lanes and you just build that, focus on what's right in front of you, and you'll be completely fine because the rest will take care of itself. Like, we've got to stop comparing and benchmarking, like it doesn't matter. It's good to know who your competition is, and it's good to know what they're capable of. But you don't need to do anything more than that. You know what I mean?
Well, usually, like, people will compare, hey, I'm the best. Like, how many companies out there can you say that they're number one?
A lot of them. Yeah, you can be number one in anything.
All of them are number one. All of them are above average. It's like, how can everyone be above average? So
Right.
define the definition of average. But so everyone's claiming the same thing, but it doesn't mean anything to anybody anymore because everyone says it. So the difference is that personal connection to that industry, field, product, service, goods, whatever it happens to be. It's always going to be that personal connection and relationship. So again, like before, people don't go looking for a house. Hey, do you know somebody with XYZ
Right.
real estate company? Because I'm looking for a house. They don't say that. They look for
And you can get a custom built home, guys. Stop buying old houses and build one. Anyways, sorry. I worked with a custom home builder and I didn't even know that was an option. I'm like, what do you mean these things aren't like completely out of reach? But literally, like the world, you can just kind of snap into existence around you if you try hard enough. So you want a custom house built, guys? No problem. And that you know, that's wild to me. I don't know. Just crazy stuff. I can't be the only one. Come on, guys. Back me up in the comments. Y'all know what time it is. Whatever. We're rolling on 5:18, which means it's time for final thoughts. Chris, because you haven't been here in a while, final thoughts is where you get 30 seconds, minute and a half, or however long you want to say what is on your mind and leave the audience with a lasting impression. So we'll put you on center screen. The time is yours, however you see fit. Have fun.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for having me out here. My last words of encouragement are to just be yourself, be genuine. Don't try to be other people and get stuck doing that. Just be yourself. Be authentic to who you are and your style, who you connect with. Build those authentic connections. Is going to pay off because then the people that you attract are going to be the people that you want to do business with. So that's all I say is just be yourself through it. If you need any coaching, support, training, find it out there. If you don't have anyone to help you, I'll be more than happy to help you. I've been through all the trials of networking that brings, all the fear, all the anxiety, and I'll be happy to support you on the journey. So.
And there's no one better to support you. Like, look at this guy and the feeling that you get just listening to him. Close your eyes, listen to Chris talk, and then tell me if he should be the one. I'll let you make that determination, but I already know what the answer is. We'll go ahead and hop up here. Quick final thoughts. Yesterday, I totally forgot to say my favorite thing, which is to be a better person today than you were yesterday. So yesterday, this is just going back. Be a better person yesterday than you were 2 days ago, and let's all be a great person tomorrow. I don't know. I'm getting not even sick of this quarantine, just confused when what we're actually doing, what the direction is. So I hope I'm not the only one. But regardless, stay present, stay healthy, stay aware, stay awoke, keep your mask on, and bow tie up.
The orange background. How have I gone through? How many days have I gone having the wrong background?
A lot.
A lot. This is a chronic thing. Okay, jeez. All right. Well, I need people like walking behind me, telling me what to do every step of the way. But we've somehow successfully completed another fantastic episode of BowtieUP Live. And networking is such an essential part of building an online business that we can't afford to ignore it. You know, I know when I first met Chris, I was probably as introverted as he says he was when he started out. And I've learned a lot of what I've learned from him. And that's not only in how I network, but how I approach my copy. Because I've used a lot of the elements that he teaches in networking to structure copy that connects rather than just sells in the usual pushy, look at me, how great I am. And, you know, I'm going to solve all your problems and I'm your savior thing. So definitely hang out with him, connect with him if you haven't already, and listen to what he has to say, because this guy knows what he's talking about. In the meantime, I think I'm going to wrap it up and quit babbling, because we're in the middle of this moving thing and everything is pretty much a wreck around here. And I don't remember sleeping. I'm sure I did at some point, but we'll be at the new place unpacking over the weekend and should be ready to go on Monday. No, wait, we got to be ready to go tomorrow. I got to talk to you about that after the show, Alex, because we've got a surprise.
Surprise! That's exciting.
Surprise!
We'll see what the surprise is. To find out what that surprise was, join us tomorrow, 15th at 4:19 and 59 seconds Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.